Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Carter Hour. Well, what you see behind me is the 2008 Mercury Grand Marquis. And generally, I like to keep my cars clean. What we're looking at right now is a really dirty engine. So we're going to clean this engine today and make it look like brand new. And it's simple. And if you do this every year, or even twice a year, your engine's going to run cooler, and generally, you'll have fewer to no breakdowns. How do I know this? Because I've had a lot of cars, and I've been cleaning my engines on all of my cars for years, and barely any breakdowns at all. So let's get started. For today, we'll just go ahead and remove it the old-fashioned way. Now, the reason I'm removing this is because, now this is a little bit different in my 2008. We've got this air dam on here. We want to pull this off. Now, same way, just a little bit different. There we go. And I want to give you guys kind of a... Now there's tabs down here, but since they put the condenser a little bit closer here in the transcooler on the outside, this is a little bit different than it was in the past. There we go. All right. So, got this piece right here, and that goes along the radiator and the condenser to keep the airflow going. So what I want to do is, what I was discussing before, is there's so much crap down here that we want to get that out. And I'm going to go ahead and take you off the right down and through there. See that? We're going to take and lightly take the power washer and get most of that crap out if we can. Get yourself a can of Autozone Engine Degreaser, or any, doesn't need to be a name brand, so you're just paying for the name. So what we're going to do is we're going to liberally apply this to the engine bay. And you're probably going to use 1 to 2 cans. I'm just going to use 1 can for this demonstration, but you want to make sure that you get all the areas that you're going to build grease up on them. Make sure we get all the pieces that are greased. So we're going to go ahead and let that sit for about 10 minutes or so. Let it soak in. Let it get all the grime off. And then we're going to get the power washer out. So now we've waited about 10 minutes or so. And it's starting to really degrease the engine. And that's engine degreaser that you want to buy. Now, it's advisable before you take on a task like this to make sure you do this on a cold engine. And the reason I'm saying that is most people use cold water in their pressure washer to wash the engine. Now you know what cold water will do with a hot engine. It could possibly damage it. So we want to do it with a cold engine. This car has not been driven today yet. So we're going to go ahead and use the pressure washer and we're going to wash down everything in this engine. And then afterwards, I'm going to show you an unorthodox way of drying the engine and prep it for the engine detailer. So now that we got the pressure washer going, we're going to go ahead and clean this. The engine washed off. We want to dry it off, and then we're going to want to start it and make sure everything starts up fine and everything. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do an unorthodox way of drying this engine, and I'm sure you guys will be surprised. Let it warm up for a few seconds, and I noticed that this car also needs a new belt. Now you will experience some belt slipping as well if the belt is still wet. Might as well turn off your AC when you start the engine for the first time after you. Alright, now that we've got it all cleaned, we want to take just a small towel and dry up any puddles that we have anywhere. just gonna fry this up real quick. This is what I use. It's a CD2. You can use gunk. You can use even the Autozone stuff. I've had this around for a long time because you only need very little of it. So you don't need to use a whole can to do a job like this. If you use a whole can and you got a little bit of an issue, you just overdid it a bit. You don't want to overdo this. You want to liberally do it, but then you don't either. So let's go ahead and, yeah, almost lost it there. Let's go ahead and detail the engine, and then we're going to let it sit, and we're going to let it run, because the heat of the engine will actually kind of bake the stuff on. So, all right, here we go. Alright, now that we have the product applied, we want to start the engine and let it warm up, and eventually the stuff will dry, and whatever's pooled or left over you want to wipe. Now, when you start the car, product's dry, there might be some water left over from the wash. You might see some steaming areas. It might look like smoke, but it's not. Steaming areas from the radiator area or on back where the exhaust manifolds are. Also, the product might steam a little bit. No concern or no worries that you have to be concerned of when that happens. That's just the grind. As you can see, the product's still drying, but it will take a little bit for this to dry. And then what you want to do is when you start getting the streaks like this, but it's set in, we want to wipe those areas down. Now I only used probably 1/8 of the can doing this. So you'll notice there's some drippage over there, and that might cause some steaming issues. But keeping the engine clean on a car is definitely going to help the longevity of the engine, because you get all the grime off of it. It's able to cool better. And like I said, when I showed you this radiator cavity before, there was a bunch of cottonwood, like I mentioned in my last video, and that ends up in the radiator. And eventually you can clog up your radiator, and your air conditioner doesn't work, and your engine starts to run a little hotter. Alright, now since we got the engine clean, I let it dry for about 20 minutes or so with the engine on. I'm going to go ahead and take the rest of the trim pieces and then I'm going to wipe them down and this job will be complete. I also washed the car while we went on break. So take your piece like this and all you have to do is squirt a little bit, I already did, on of this engine detailer. Take your plastic pieces and just go over them once over. Now, since this one's going to be sitting under another plastic piece, I'm not too overly concerned about it, because this will not be seen, but since we're doing it anyways, we might as well do it. So I'm going to go ahead and reapply this piece. And I was getting steam. I'm going to actually adjust this. I was getting steam out of the engine as well, in the radiator part. Not so much in the back part of the engine, but the radiator part, and that was common because there was still quite a bit of water in there. So I got that piece on now. I'm going to go ahead and, this piece is pretty rugged, so we're going to give this a wipe down real quick. And just to apply it, just spray it straight on. This assures you get a nice clean piece. I'm going to go ahead and set this aside for now and let it do its thing. Well, ladies and gents, got the engine completed on this 2008 Grand Marquis. Looks great. All right. Well, there's the final product. Looks very clean and looks new. And I've been doing this on this car since pretty much practically new. This car was not new when it was purchased. It had 41,000 miles, which now has 63,000 miles on it. So not very many miles are put on this car per year. So the engine is clean, and that's the way it should be. For another edition with Carter Hour, today, Sunday, June 30th, 2013. Appreciate you joining another episode. And for watchers new to the channel, please check out the other videos. And if you wish, subscribe. Take care.